Alright, so the Eagles are 9-1 after gutting out a tough win over the Chiefs in Arrowhead, where defensive coordinator Sean Desai was masterful, as Kevin Byard and the Birds defense absolutely suffocated Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Chiefs offense in the second half, but it wasn't without some costly mistakes by the Chiefs. But still, multiple guys praised the effort from the Eagles defense, including Jalen Hurts, who made history in this game in multiple ways, while also leading the Eagles on an epic comeback. But regardless, he isn't satisfied, as he sounded off on the Birds' offensive struggles after the game, as once again the play calling from offensive coordinator Brian Johnson was rather suspect, so much so that one of his players apparently got visibly frustrated with him, and he wasn't the only Eagle that got heated in this game. So let's talk about that and everything else from week 11, and we won't waste any time, let's get straight into it. So with all the hype going into the Monday night Super Bowl rematch between the Eagles and Chiefs, it was definitely a nice payoff to see the Eagles come away with the win, because even though yes, winning the Super Bowl would have felt a lot better, as Nick Sirianni admitted,
shoot, I'd trade winning last year for this one, but you know, it feels good to get this one.
Like he said, it's still nice to come away with this one for multiple reasons. One being, of course, it just feels great to be 9-1 and sitting at the top of the NFC, but also it's nice for the Eagles to finally have a win against their former coach in Andy Reid, and I'm also sure that it feels good for Jason Kelce to finally have a win against his younger brother Travis after all these years. Now, we saw Jason pull up to the game repping he and Travis' alma mater, Cleveland Heights High School, but on the first drive of the game, Travis and the Chiefs offense definitely were not taking their game to new heights, as they went 3 and out, largely due to a massive second down sack by Hassan Reddick, who continues his recent stretch of dominance. Unfortunately, the Eagles weren't able to capitalize off the opportunity, as they had a 3 and out of their own. But from there, the Chiefs offense started humming, beginning with the run game, with Isaiah Pacheco breaking off a 24-yard run on the NFL's #1 rush defense. Then Kadarius Toney got some action with a 14-yard gain on a handoff, and then Pat Mahomes led the Chiefs all the way into the end zone, capping off the drive with some magic as he evaded defenders in the pocket to find a wide open Justin Watson in the end zone. And he was so wide open because Kevin Byard seemed to be confused on what coverage the Eagles were running, and he just completely blew his assignment, leading to many people thinking, oh no, here we go again with Byard not playing like the star we thought we traded for.
Oh no, not again.
Luckily, that didn't end up being the case. More on that later. But now that the Chiefs had taken the lead, it was Jalen Hurts and the offense's turn to respond, and man did they ever, as they marched down the field with the help of some big gains, like this one of 20 yards to DeVonta Smith to start the drive, and then this 11-yard gain to Smitty later, which, by the way, it really seems like DeVonta likes playing the Chiefs, as in the 3 games he's played against them so far in his career, including the Super Bowl, he's been pretty awesome. But then moving on, DeAndre Swift got the delayed handoff and followed some good blocks around the edge, and then made some guys miss for an overall gain of 17 yards to set up 1st and goal. And can we just acknowledge the amazing block from Jason Kelce here? I mean, oh my goodness, that's a freaking great block, and I gotta agree with Emmanuel Acho, who said, quote, Jason Kelce has to be the best pulling center in NFL history. He's one of the best linemen in space in this generation.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
So that block by Kelce and run by Swift set the Eagles up in perfect position to answer the Chiefs' touchdown, and that's exactly what they did, as Swift got the handoff on the next play and got around the edge for the 4-yard TD. So overall, what a response by the Eagles, and glad to see the only Kelce and Swift duo I, or pretty much any Eagles fan, really cares about do their thing, so drop a like down below for that. And then just a few minutes later, the Eagles had a golden opportunity as the offense got the ball back after a quick and scoreless Chiefs possession, but after gaining 1 first down, things took a turn for the worse, as Jalen Hurts threw a pass to A.J. Brown on what it looked like was supposed to be a slant or in route, but AJ tried to move upfield and Jalen just wasn't on the same page, so the throw resulted in an interception to Chiefs cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, and afterwards we saw AJ get a little animated on the sideline in a discussion with Jalen Hurts. Now, let's please not overblow this like we did the last time. This was just a discussion between 2 best friends who were trying to get things figured out. I mean, there was clearly a miscommunication on the play, which resulted in a turnover, so it's understandable that there was some frustration.
Chill the F out!
Like seriously, if there are people making a big deal out of this, they need to chill out. Still, nonetheless, this was a very unfortunate play, and after the Chiefs went on a long drive that took the ball deep into Philly territory, it looked like that it would end up being a costly one. That is, until Kevin Byard made a fantastic play to jump a pass intended for Justin Watson in the end zone and get his first pick as an Eagle, and it couldn't have come at a much better time. Now, Byard did say he was a lot more comfortable coming into this game after he had the bye week to acclimate himself more to the defense, and that certainly looked to be the case here on this play, as he got his 29th pick of his career and his first as an Eagle, and Byard guarantees there's plenty more to come, so huge thumbs up for that play and the confidence from Byard. And now that Byard and the defense had bailed them out, it was yet another chance for the offense to go and take the lead. Unfortunately, what followed was the worst stretch of offense the Eagles had in this entire game, and possibly the entire season, as they had 4 straight 3-and-out stretching from the end of the first half to the beginning of the second half, and in this stretch we saw Jalen Hurts get sacked 4 times in the last 2 possessions of the first half alone, making that a a total of 5 sacks the Eagles gave up in the first half, which is unheard of considering just how good this Eagles offensive line usually is. And then to make the damage worse, the defense had their toughest portion of the game as well, letting up back-to-back Chiefs drives yielding points at the end of the half, one in which Travis Kelce caught a 4-yard touchdown pass, and another where the Chiefs somehow got into field goal range, and Butker got the attempt to go through as the first half clock expired. But interestingly enough, this field goal almost didn't happen because Jalen Carter nearly made what would have probably been the weirdest but also the most amazing play of the entire NFL season, as just as the Chiefs were spiking the ball to set up the field goal attempt, Carter dove between the lineman's legs to try and pick it off, and he actually almost had it, so you gotta love the effort from Carter, and it got a good laugh out of Josh Sweat.
Oh yeah. I was like, bro, what you doing? Bro, I've never, if he would have caught that, does it count? It does, right? Yeah, it does. I'm like, bro, I was like, what are you doing? He dove through the center legs. Nah, it was funny. It wasn't funny at the time, but now it is.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, no, it would have been nice. It would have been nice.
Yeah, it definitely would have been nice, especially since it would have wiped those 3 points off the board. But that play aside, it really did seem like everything was going wrong for the Eagles during this stretch. I mean, they just couldn't get anything going, especially offensively, but the one thing you can count on with this Eagles team is that they don't quit, and they were able to fight through this rough patch in the game, as Nick Sirianni spoke to after the contest.
Yeah, just resiliency. I mean, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of ugly moments in it. But they just kept fighting and kept staying together. It was just a good team win, where everyone just stayed together, right? And the defense just kept making plays, waiting for the offense to make a play, and we did in some critical times.
Well, one of those critical times was on an offensive drive that started in the middle of the third quarter, in which the Eagles finally started to turn the momentum of the game in their favor. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but real quick here, I just want to take a minute to say, if you are enjoying this video or finding it informative in any way, and you're part of the 75% of people that haven't done so already, make sure you go down right now, subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you don't miss when any other videos are uploaded. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. I mean, I get more people watching the videos, and you don't miss any of this Eagles content. And also, while you're at it, drop a like on this video. It is my birthday today, so if you want to give me a little gift, just go hit the like button, and also the subscribe as well. And now with that being said, let's get back into the video. So after 2 more 3-and-outs in the third quarter, the offense finally put together a successful drive, in which DeAndre Swift really gave the offense a spark with a 35-yard run on a sweep, where he was able to fight through contact and get all the way into the red zone. And then the Eagles were able to finish off the drive with a QB draw play on a 3rd and 5, where Hurts was able to get all the way into the end zone from 10 yards out, which was great because it helped the Eagles make it just a 3-point game, and it started to flip the momentum in the Eagles' favor. As going into the Chiefs' next offensive possession, you know they were determined to answer, and they went all the way down the field with a couple nice plays while also being aided by some Eagles penalties. But once they got into the red zone, one particular Eagle came up big with a game-changing play as Travis Kelce caught a pass for 5 yards, but Bradley Roby, fresh off injury, came in and punched the ball out, and Nicholas Morrow was able to recover, giving the Eagles the ball back and stopping the Chiefs from being able to make it a 2-possession game once again. Now, first off, what a great play by Roby, and this marked the second turnover of the game for the Chiefs offense, both of which were created by members of the Eagles secondary, and particularly 2 guys who just got here mid-season, which prompted Emmanuel Acho to heap praise on Howie Roseman as he said, quote, "Howie Roseman is the Eagles' secret weapon. Bradley Roby was acquired off the street October 3rd. Kevin Byard was acquired via trade October 23rd. These 2 players who their team or the league didn't want bad enough were responsible for the biggest defensive plays." Now that's a great point, so huge credit to Howie Roseman for always finding ways to make the team better and getting guys that make an impact. And Nick Sirianni, after the game, made sure to give a special shout out to those 2 guys as well.
Roby having a huge turnover, creating a huge turnover, both in the red zone, I believe, and then Kevin also. Right, those guys are here because they've made plays their entire career, and they still got a lot left in their bodies. And I'm sure glad that Bradley's back, made some unbelievable plays.
Sounds like Sirianni is certainly happy that those 2 guys are here, and with those 2 takeaways that they created, the Eagles were then winning the turnover battle, which typically is a big stat in determining the winner of the game, and with the Eagles specifically, they're undefeated when they win the turnover battle, and Chiefs head coach Andy Reid highlighted this as a reason for the eventual loss after the game.
You're playing a good football team. I mean, they've done a heck of a job there with that football team, and so, you play a good team. You can't lose a turnover battle. I mean, they're undefeated when they win the turnover battle. So, and then you add the penalties to it, a couple of drops to it. So we got to take care of that.
You lose that battle. You lose that battle 9 times out of 10.
This is true, but the Eagles still had business to handle at this point, as of course they were still trailing 17-14 when this happened early in the fourth quarter, and the offense now had to go score. Unfortunately, on their next drive, they couldn't even manage to get a first down, as after some really head-scratching play calls of 2 wide receiver screens in a row that went nowhere, Jalen Hurts just couldn't get out of a 3rd and 10 hole, and this possession in particular was another example of a theme that kinda existed throughout the entire game, and that was some really weird and not so great play calling from offensive coordinator Brian Johnson. I mean, why call this so conservatively here when you're down 3 points in the fourth quarter? I mean, I get being careful when you're that close to your own end zone, but 2 back-to-back wide receiver screen passes, I really just don't get it. And this wasn't the only example of frustrating play calling, as earlier to start the second half down 10, there was another sequence in which Brian Johnson called 2 consecutive handoffs and then a quarterback run, prompting this Twitter user to say, quote, "That had to be the worst play call I've ever seen." And then apparently later on what would be the next possession for the Eagles, in which they got stopped on a 3rd and 1 run call, DeVonta Smith gave Brian Johnson an earful after the play. Now let's take this with a grain of salt because this isn't an actual reporter who said this and no cameras actually captured it, but this Patrick guy was at the game with his son and he had pretty good seats that had a view of the Eagles sideline, so I feel like there's probably a decent chance that this is true. Either way, Brian Johnson's play calling in this game was just not good enough, and here it could have ended up being costly. Luckily, the Eagles were able to get a stop on the Chiefs' next offensive drive even after Patrick Mahomes dropped this dime to Justin Watson with pressure in his face, because Watson then later dropped a pass on 3rd down that then forced the Chiefs to punt. So the Eagles offense had yet another opportunity, and after a few really nice gains that kick-started the drive, Jalen Hurts made arguably the play of the game as he dropped this absolute dime right over the defender to DeVonta Smith, who did have to come back for it a tiny bit, but nonetheless it was a great throw and a great catch to get the Eagles down on the 1-yard line. And probably the coolest thing about this play is that it wasn't the original play call, as according to Nick Sirianni, Jalen actually checked to this play.
Devontae and AJ had a huge play that Jalen actually checked to. It was a heck of a check. Jalen just sees some great things out there, and he did a phenomenal job. Got to a little bit of a, I won't get too much into it, but he checked to that, and it ended up being the right call at the right moment. And that's what good quarterbacks do. Quarterbacks, they make 3 or 4 plays that change the game with their mind, right? They got to do a great job throwing the ball, running the show, but they make 3 to 4 checks a game with their mind that can make big differences, and Jalen did that tonight.
Well, Jalen certainly did change the game with this audible, because he was then able to get the ball into the end zone by way of the brotherly shove and give the Eagles their first lead of the game in the fourth quarter after being down by double digits late in the third. That is the definition of clutch.
Let me in your world, that's why it's boy, that's why. Wanna be
Then the Chiefs got the ball back, but they weren't able to get anything going on the ensuing possession, so possession then went right back to the Eagles, where after a few more seemingly conservative play calls by Brian Johnson, they had to punt it away and leave the game in the defense's hands. And on the Chiefs' final drive, things got interesting, as after a slow start to the drive, the Chiefs started moving with a big gain to Travis Kelce and a roughing the passer penalty by Fletcher Cox to go with it. But then on 2nd down and 10, with just under 2 minutes to go, Mahomes fired the ball deep down the field to a wide open Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who would beat Bradley Roby for what would have been the game-winning touchdown, and MVS just dropped it, luckily for the Birds.
That was close.
And then on the next play, the Eagles' pass rush, after the entire game of not getting home, finally got there, with Josh Sweat nearly sacking Mahomes. He attempted to throw out of it, but the ball didn't quite make it back to the line of scrimmage, so it was ruled an intentional grounding, and that forced a 4th and really long, in which Patrick Mahomes fired it deep to Justin Watson, and yet again, a Chiefs wide receiver dropped a pass, and with that, the Eagles came away with the narrow victory. Now, do I feel bad that the Chiefs dropping passes may have cost them the game? Let me think about it. No, I do not. I mean, at the end of the day, a win is a win. The Eagles keep the main thing. They're 9-1. They just beat the Super Bowl champions, which is obviously great. But with that being said, Jalen Hurts is still not satisfied, as even though he made history with the win, as he now has 7 straight wins, went down 10+ points, which is the most by any quarterback since that stat was tracked in 1991, and there's no other quarterback that has more than 4 straight of those. Plus, he also now has won 12 straight games against teams with a winning record, which is the longest streak by any quarterback in 73 years, not to mention the fact that he is now the clear MVP favorite after the win. But he still knows the Eagles have yet to play their best ball, and specifically the offense, he just knows they didn't play up to the standard, and he sounded off on the Birds' offensive struggles after the game.
Man, we didn't get first down. We were horrible. We didn't play good offensively. Our defense definitely had us strong in that game, and they did a great job of playing ball. Keep going, bro. You know, in this league, man, you get to this time of the year, you just want to find ways to win, and that's the only thing that matters.
You know, we hadn't really been efficient offensively. Wasn't on the same page on the interception, on the turnover we had some communication things in that hostile environment we played in. But in the end, it's just about finding a way to win.
So he said it there. The Eagles just did not play well offensively. He knows they got to be better than that. Now, I will say the offense has been a lot better as the weeks have gone on, but that Chiefs defense is just so tough, so it's definitely understandable that the offense had their struggles, but in the future, they just have to be better than that, and it still feels like we're waiting on the Birds to put together that one complete game where everyone is clicking, and DeVonta Smith knows this too, and he echoed it after the game.
We can go out there and we can get it done. We still have yet to play our best football.
What has to happen to, like, I've heard that a bunch from your guys. You keep saying that. What does that mean? What's your best football look like that it isn't yet?
Executing drives, man. Finishing drives. Defensively getting off the field on third down. Offensively, we got to be able to run the ball better because we haven't been running the ball good. It just put together a complete game.
I mean, we're all still waiting on it, and I'm confident that it'll come eventually, but for now, even without being able to do that, the Birds are 9-1 and the best team in the NFL, and they just beat the Super Bowl champs, so that's gotta feel good, and now they gotta prepare on a shorter week to go home and face Buffalo in their Kelly green jerseys, and hopefully that can finally be the game where they put it all together. So if you don't want to miss any coverage leading into that matchup with the Bills, again, make sure you go down, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Also, drop a like on this video if you did enjoy and want to show some support, and leave a comment down below. What did you think of the Eagles win over the Chiefs? And if you want to watch another Eagles video, you can go check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.